You're making a mess. Just stop. You need to listen to this. This is very important. I'm going to tell you right now. They always told you need to learn something new every day. Well, today's your day. This is your opportunity. Don't go nowhere. Stop scrolling off. Stop. I got your attention. All right. We got something very important to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Gen X. Are we to blame? You gonna hate the player or hate the game? Well, here it is. I'm gonna break it down. Order in the court. I gotta plead the fifth. I'm not pleading the fifth. I'm talking. I gotta plead my case. I gotta plead the case. So it's important that you listen, because you're gonna learn something here today, and it's important that you figure this out. I want to tell you something. I need to first of all, you know, we love all y'all listening, even the boomers, if you're listening. Doubt it. But Gen X, we are the parents and fathers, mainly us fathers. We're fathers of, you know, Millennials and Zellenials, and some of us even the Alphas. What? That's a different story. Anyway, so we are very invested in you understanding something. So just listen for just a second. You know what I mean? Gen X is a crazy generation. Like I said, and this was what I always did not understand. And you explain this to me. Mystery number one. What happened to Generation Y? Well, that's us. They just never called us Generation Y. Why? Because they were scared we was gonna ask why. Why'd you go from boomers to start with a B to the end of the world? X, Generation X, and then Y to Z is telling us it was gonna be we're the end of the generation. Yeah, we have alphas now. They didn't tell us that then. They didn't tell us what the next generations were gonna be called. They just told us we were near the end. It was about to be over. That was the kind of stuff they put in their head. Does it sound familiar? Listen up. There's some important things you got to listen to. This is going to go quick. I'm hoping I don't have to take too much time, but you got to learn. You got to take time. Stop scrolling off. You don't want to do that. Oh, now you're going to make a mess all over the place. And this camera's... Don't make a mess of my camera, goddamn. Listen, now that's the number one thing. I got some things written down here. So, you know, Gen X, we can be divided. That's why I call myself Generation Y. Because the first beginnings of the Gen Xers, they was way too close to them boomers over there, way back there in the 60s. You know what I mean? I don't grow up over there, and they grew up in the 60s and 70s, and I didn't see very much of that. I was just a kid. You know what I mean? I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. That was my time. You know what I mean? That was an awesome time. But I mean, you got to be honest with you. You know, the beginning of Generation X. I don't remember Vietnam being on TV or hearing much about it. I don't remember Kennedy getting shot or any of that stuff. I don't remember even Nixon. I don't remember any of that stuff. You know what I mean? I'll tell you one of my first memories, and I was just a little boy, and we used to wake up. There's gonna be some intermittent stories in here that are very. Are you not entertained? Well, just be entertained. Wait for a second. Don't scroll off. Don't start scrolling off again. Wait, give a second. This is interesting. You gotta understand. You gotta understand this. If you want to understand what the hell's going on, how we can fix this generation gap, and how we can... This has all got a purpose. Just wait. So, back when we was kids, we used to wake up on Saturday mornings. We didn't have stuff we could just watch on demand, whatever the hell we wanted. We had to wait till Saturday mornings to watch cartoons. Saturday morning cartoons. We'd get up early, and we'd go to, you know, we didn't have to go to school, so we went to... I still got a drinking problem. Just give me a second. That's all right. Anyway, so we'd get up Saturday mornings to watch cartoons, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like today. It was, you know, we'd watch, you know, Sesame Street and, you know, Land of the Lost. That was the horriblest thing ever, but we had to watch that stuff, you know. We didn't have Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. It was what we had. Anyway, we still got up early to watch it because of what we had. Regardless, after cartoons, you know, we'd go outside and play. That's what we did. But after the cartoons, there was a little segment before sports came on. It was the news would come on. And I remember when I was sitting there in front of the television, because you would, you know, scoot up and sit right up under the television. They would whoop your ass for doing it, but you'd still do it. Anyway, you're going to go blind if you sit so close. Now people got damn screens right here. Anyways. Oh, side note. Wait. So, we were watching this here, and all of a sudden the news comes on. And this is one of my first memories of life. News comes on, and they're talking about we're going to war with gorillas. What the hell? I was a kid. I was like, Well, I knew Planet of the Apes, and I knew King Kong, and I knew, well, apparently that was TV, and that was, movies, and I was already able to, this is movies, is not right, cartoons, is not, this is fake, this is entertainment. But this was the news. This was, ABC, CBS, NBC, Elementary. There was the major, the few channels we had. And the news was important, and the news was supposedly telling us the truth, and we was at war with gorillas. Look it up. I didn't know what the heck gorillas were. I had to look it up now. As an adult, I thought back and said, what the hell was gorillas? We was at war with gorillas back in the day, back since then. Well, that was one of my very first memories. We was at war with all this stuff, and it just escalated on. It wasn't very much longer before they stopped talking about gorillas, and all of a sudden we was in the Cold War. I was like, what the hell is a Cold War? We fighting with snowmen, or fighting for snowballs, or snow cones? Why are we in the Cold War? Just come inside. And can everybody be inside? I didn't understand. But it was just another war all the dang time. It was one thing or another, And we was entertained too. I was alive when one of the most watched thing on TV in the time, and it's probably still up there. Who Shot JR? Dallas was a show we used to watch at night together as a family. It wasn't it was worth watching, because I'm sure it had some scandalous stuff. We learned some things we probably shouldn't have. Anyway, everybody in the world tuned in to find out who shot JR. Well, spoiler alert. Wait, hold on, it ain't a spoiler. I don't remember who the hell, if it was Bobby or if it was his wife or his brother. I don't remember who shot JR. I'm gonna have to look at it. But regardless, thinking, boy, I don't remember very much Elvis Presley. But I'll tell you one thing I do remember. Priscilla Presley. Goodness gracious, that was a thing to look at. That was one of my first loves. I seen what the king saw in her. Oh, I tell you, side note, see what happens. Okay, so anyway, so we went through stuff like that, you know what I mean? And it wasn't very much longer where, Michael Jackson was a big thing. Oh, speaking of Michael Jackson, here's another little place. Back in the days when we was kids, I ain't saying church didn't exist, but there was a thing that we used to go to. It was called prayer meetings. That's right. We didn't go to church, really. We went to prayer meetings. They was cool as could be. Because we'd go, it's about 6 or 7 families or so, and every weekend we'd go to a different one of their houses and go do prayer meeting. Well, for us kids, it means we could go play with different toys. Every weekend at everybody's different houses. Well, some of the people in our prayer meetings were poor. So we didn't have very much, nice. Sometimes we had awesome toys in the richer folk, but then that was poor people. And, well, we didn't really need toys. So we could play jacks and jump rope and run outside and play tag and hide and seek. Man, we had fun. We didn't need all that. Anyway, side note. So, in this prayer meeting, I remember, and for those of us that believe in prayer, thank you, Jesus, I do believe in prayer. I'll tell you right now, prayer doesn't always work when you want it, how you want it. It just works in its time. And I learned that now because I look back and understand what some of those parents did to us in the prayer meetings. After the prayer meetings, really. Because, see, Mama and Dad never let us, a little bit Daddy was right. Anyway, he never let us go and spend the night places. It was very rare. But one night, we was at a people's house, and they was in the kids, and we was real good friends with them, and they said, we want y'all to spend the night. And Mama said, and Dad said, yeah. So we got to spend the night. It was cool. Well, I don't want to, you never imagine what happened to me that night. Oh my goodness. Traumatized me for the rest of my life. I'll tell you right now. So we was all in one room, huddled up as kids, and we was watching, stuff, and these people had this thing called cable television. It was crazy. I didn't know such thing existed. But anyway, so once the nighttime came, they put it on this stuff I'd never heard of. It was like HBO or something like that. That was for adults. According to us, innocent children. I wasn't that innocent. Anyway, we got go forward. So anyway, nighttime came and they turned on this goddamn HBO and something came on. I heard Michael Jackson on the radio. He was, scooting and booting, and the music was, it'd make you get up and moonwalk if you wanted to. And that's cool. But I didn't know he had a movie That night, the parents let us watch something that was ridiculous to me. Thriller. It was the craziest thing. And if you want to go back and look at it, you'll be like, this is nothing. To a little kid in our time, this man was singing and booting and doing, and all of a sudden he turned into a werewolf, and everybody was cool with it. It was the scariest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And these parents let us see it. If my mom and dad would have known they was going to do that, oh, there'd have been a fuss. Regardless. So the prayer meeting, them people, I'm sure the prayer worked later in life, but these are the people from the prayer meeting. They was letting us watch HBO, Thriller, Michael Jackson, werewolves turning, all kinds of crazy stuff. But they was letting us watch stuff we shouldn't have been watching. I was just a boy. It's crazy. But that's the kind of stuff that we grew up with. Now, all this goes into another, I'm taking you what we went through. Some of us went through, before we know we went to something that we'd never seen before in our life. It's called MTV. That was the craziest thing to us. We'd hear the songs on the radio because that's what we had, the radio. And all of a sudden, the songs was on TV and the people that sung them. And it was music television. MTV actually had music on it at that time. It was glorious. It was weird. It was crazy. I saw things I shouldn't have seen at that age. But regardless, and then another thing that happened, when we was at home, we still didn't have cable yet. But at night, late at night, even on the regular channels, I don't know if it was NBC, ABC, LMNOP, which one it was, but nighttime would come. And when everything was over with, there was a show that would come on called Friday Night Videos. And we used to stay up till, I don't know what time in the morning to watch that stuff. And it was, where we got our information, where we got the style and things. It was crazy. This is how we learned stuff. You know what I mean? And this is the kind of things that we were watching, But, and then we started noticing things in the news again, and craziness about crack cocaine and police officers coming and taking family members away. And we had family members that would break into our house and take all our stuff because they was addicted to crack. And it was crazy, and then the organizations, the political, they started doing this 3 strikes you're out thing. Oh, it was the craziest thing. If you got busted 3 times for the same thing, it was over. 3 strikes you're out. That means it's over. You don't get out. That's crazy. We lost a lot of family members, and friends had a lot of family members. It was a tough time to watch us go through that. That's when Daddy went off. He went. I don't think it was crack. I didn't have a daddy growing up. Red Lard. Anyways, so that's what happened, and then it wasn't very much longer after that. Gangster rap started showing. Oh my goodness. I got a story about this one right here. You won't believe it. As wonderful as Lord. My mama didn't do it on purpose. She, bless her soul, she's alive. I can call her today. I'll call her after the video. I love you, Mama. Anyway, it was not her fault. But I'm going to tell you right now what my mama did to me. She didn't even know it. We was poor. She would say, we're going to go to allá con los ricos. She would say with the rich people, she would go to the garage sales. And so we would go to the garage sales over there. And one day she came home with this little leathery box. You be quiet. So, this little leathery box and stuff. And inside there was a cassette player and some earphones. It was a Walkman. It was a bad Walkman. Oh, it was awesome. It had a leathery case and a belt clip and some earphones. And man, it was jamming. It didn't have no batteries, but regardless. So I had to steal and borrow and work. And I found a way to get some batteries. I ain't going to tell you how I did it. But I did it. Got some batteries. I was probably about 12 years old. 11, 12 years old. And I put on this here, put on the batteries, rewind it all the way, and I press play. You'll never believe what I heard come out them speakers. Easy, mother, easy does it. That's what was in the cassette deck that my mama brought to me. Lord bless her, so she didn't know. But imagine a little kid like me listening to that. And I don't recommend you go listen to that filth. God, goodness gracious, that's crazy stuff. But anyway, I listened to that. Now, oh man, I went from Eazy-E to NWA to Ice-T and everything in between. You know what I mean? It was crazy. where that led me. But that's what was in our ears. That's what we was listening to all the way to, Two Live Crew. Don't go listen to that if you don't know what that is. Oh my goodness gracious. We listened to some stuff back in the day. And we're a generation that, we can listen to Thunder Rose, to And Justice for All, to 100 Miles and Running, all in one setting. And you don't know what those three things are. It's a crazy mix of different types of music. But anyway, that's another story. Well, we got to a place where, from gangster rap, we started getting up, and before we know it, and all this other stuff, and before we know it, it was, Desert Storm. Now there's another war. We was warring over there with these, crazy people on the other side of the war. I don't know why. One of them tried to kill our president. Qassam Hussein, or Saddam Hussein. I don't remember their names, but we was over there killing people, and it was crazy. We were watching it on TV. This was a war we was watching on TV. We was watching bombs and planes, and we was watching it live. We never seen anything like that before. That's when this particular thing started happening. Right around there, the X Games came in. And that was, if you know what X Games are, for us, that was the most ultimate, bestest thing ever. We went from watching, soccer and football and basketball. Now we had BMX and skateboarding and jumping and twisting and parkour. It was awesome. Anyway, so for some reason that X stuck. It stuck. Because all of a sudden we began to be called Generation X. Right around the 90s, mid-90s, and they started calling us Generation X. And we're like, well, what the hell? Why are you calling us Generation X? You're skipping a bunch of letters. But they started throwing that stuff in there. There was a crazy man by the name of Harold Camping. There's comets coming and things was happening. All of a sudden it was the end of the world. It was the end of the world. And they kept pushing that on us. And now you're like, when you think it's going to be the end of the world, you don't care about the future. You don't do anything about the future. You're worried about now. And you do stuff with that in mind. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that didn't work out so good for a lot of us. Because they kept pushing that on us. It was the last days. Our parents, at the prayer meetings, they was reading the Bible, and then they was watching the news, and there was Russia. It was Russia even back then, and the Soviet Union, and all kinds of. It was crazy, and this stuff was on the news, and they was telling us it was the last days. They were telling kids that. What were we supposed to do? You know what I mean? You get to that point where Y2K happened. 1999. It was just never-ending uncertainty. One thing after another. It was the end. Oh, that wasn't end. But the end is right there. Wait. Okay, you passed it. Okay, but there's another end that's coming. Planes falling out the sky. 9/11. All of a sudden, well, 2012's coming. It just never ends. It is a perpetual, never-ending uncertainty. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's what my generation X or Y or whatever the heck you want to call us, that's what we grew up in. That's the kind of stuff that we're telling us. And so, yeah, we didn't care. We didn't get involved. We just worried about, taking care of ourselves, with what we had in front of our plate today, because we didn't think that was going to be tomorrow. Sure, we got all kinds of student loans. Sure, it didn't matter. We weren't going to be around to pay it off, according to what they was telling us. It's crazy, Think about it. We went from the 50s, the biggest issue in the 50s, Elvis Presley was gyrating his hips. And there was a big ruckus about that. He was swinging and gyrating his hips. And this is evil and this is crazy. That's what they called it back in the 50s. They sure did. Look it up. 60s and 70s, them crazy hippies and free love and all kinds of stuff and LSD and all kinds of stuff started happening from there. That went to that, and all of a sudden, the 80s, with the war, now turned into the war on drugs. Now they was locking people up for drugs after they're the ones that gave it to everybody in the 70s. You know what I mean? It was crazy. Now people are in the penitentiary for the same thing. And we seen that. We went through that. The 90s, this is end times and wars, and this is what we went through, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to bring it to a close here. We're raised a generation in chaos. Always. That's what we grew up in. That is what we grew up in. You know, we were taught to, you know, just be scared all the time because the end was any second now. You know, we had bombs, nuclear bombs. We had in school. You know how you have tornado drills? I remember this. We had nuclear attack drills. We'd go out to the hallway. Ask the people that was in elementary in the 80s. It would send us to the middle of the hallway, on our knees, in the ball, and cover your head. What the heck was that? But they were scaring us. They're scaring the living daylights out of us. It's crazy. So we grew up, and we had this freedoms. Even then, as kids, we did all kinds of stuff. Went all kinds of places, had all kinds of experiences. It was crazy. It was fun. But we grew up, and now we're going to bring these new generations into it. We grew up with y'all. After we had all this fear of everything, and it just kept coming and coming, we raised these children, millennials, zellenials, and stuff. Don't talk to strangers. You know what I mean? Adam Walsh. Who the heck is he? Where did he come from? He came from our generation because of his son that went missing, and that was on TV every night, missing children. You know, and so we raised you kids to not talk to strangers. Well, it's not because you shouldn't talk to strangers. It's because we didn't believe that you had the capacity to understand and be able to discern when somebody was good or bad. So we said, don't talk to strangers. Well, we never got to a point where we said, okay, you can talk to strangers now. Now you should know good and bad. You just kept that in your mind. Now you don't talk to nobody. What the hell? We don't talk to each other. This is ridiculous. You know, this really is happening right now. You know, it's like there's wisdom in the older generations. We used to talk to them, and they used to tell us all kinds of stuff, and now you guys won't even talk to us. We're with stuff like this. We need to talk to each other. All these generations, we need to come together. We do. We actually do. This is important for all of us. You know, if we don't do it, there's going to be big problems. I got to tell you something right now. This, you can quote me. This comes from GreenGold, the tot, baby. Tickler of thoughts. Wise man once said, okay, I'm the wise man. Here we go. If you live life like there will be no tomorrow, you won't have one. If you live life like there's no tomorrow, you won't have one. Because you're not preparing. You're not involved. You're not getting ready for what's coming. That's what they had us doing. That's why a lot of us are in a situation that we're in. So this is the entire crux of the whole thing. Get involved. The future is yours. I'm telling you right now. We need to talk to each other. You need to get some insight from the older generations. We used to talk to them. Y'all need to talk to us. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to listen. We need to listen. We need to talk. It needs to be a conversation. But this is happening to you kids right now. And I'm telling you all this because we live through it. And I see what they've done to us, and they're doing it to you too. Now there's war and uncertainty and the end of the world and nuclear proliferation. Every weekend there's something worse going on. And it is making you not care. And I'm seeing this generation growing up not caring. And that's the most dangerous thing ever. Because it's not going to get fixed. So we need to get you involved. Because the future is yours. You can make a difference. You can do something. And there's something going on right now. Being said by many people. All it takes for evil to flourish is for good people to do nothing. Well, I'm doing something. Here's this video. I've written some books. I'm an author. I've written some songs. I'm published. Look me up on Spotify. It's finally up. My first song is up. My first book is fixing to be published. I wrote it for children's. Because somebody has to tell these kids this stuff. And a lot of you never got told it as adults. These things are good for you too. Listen to it. Read it to the children and absorb it yourself. We need a change. We need to talk to each other. We need to quit this division and these internets and these, phone diggers and jingamajockers. They're all just taking your time away from you and separating us because that's all you focus on. We gotta stop. We gotta stop. Alright? So thumbs up, elbows, kicks, figure it out. I got more videos coming. We got more things to do, and just keep in contact with me. You'll know where to find me. You'll know what to do. GreenGold out. Love ya.
GreenGold the top, baby. Ticked off, trucker.